Have you ever watched someone completely dismantle a manipulator, not with yelling, threats, or dramatics, but with a calm, composed presence that cuts deeper than any insult ever could? It's unsettling, almost hypnotic. In a world where narcissists scream for attention, bullies thrive on fear, and con artists twist the truth like it's clay in their hands, there exists a rare kind of man who doesn't fight fire with fire. He doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't argue for validation. He just sees through the noise, and silently neutralizes it. This man is what they call the Sigma male. Unlike traditional alpha leaders who command from the spotlight or beta followers who seek belonging in the herd, the Sigma male walks alone, but never aimlessly. He is driven by a quiet intensity, powered by a mind that doesn't just think, but calculates. He doesn't impose dominance. He exposes illusion. Independent to the core, emotionally self-contained, and grounded in principles that cannot be bought, manipulated, or shaken, he becomes the one type of man toxic individuals cannot predict, control, or endure. Because what rattles manipulators isn't resistance. It's indifference. And what terrifies them most isn't confrontation, but the unblinking presence of someone who sees right through them, and refuses to play their game. In this video, we'll break down 9 powerful ways Sigma males disarm and dismantle toxic individuals, not with force, but with a kind of psychological gravity that pulls lies, deceit, and control games straight into the light. Prepare to look deeper into the mindset of the man who doesn't fight for power, because he is the power. Number 1. They refuse to play the social hierarchy game. Toxic individuals, whether narcissists, bullies, or covert manipulators, thrive in environments where power is defined by hierarchy. They exploit titles, seniority, wealth, or popularity like weapons, using them to assert control and demand obedience. It's not about connection, it's about domination. In these systems, people are either stepping stones or threats. But the Sigma male? He doesn't even enter the arena. Sigma males operate outside the hierarchy entirely. They don't chase status, and they don't recognize social rankings as a measure of worth. Their self-esteem isn't built on comparison, it's built on inner clarity. That's why they treat the CEO and the janitor with the same level of eye contact, respect, and authenticity, because to them, roles don't define people. Character does. When a manipulator tries to leverage their title or position to intimidate or impress, the Sigma male's reaction, or lack thereof, is unsettling. He doesn't flinch. He doesn't cater. He doesn't react. That cold neutrality sends a clear message: you are not above me. And in that moment, the manipulator loses their grip, not just on the Sigma, but on the room. Others begin to question the authority they've blindly obeyed. The mask slips. And without the artificial scaffolding of status to hold them up, many toxic individuals collapse under their own weight. Number 2. They set boundaries and maintain distance. Manipulators don't just want your attention, they want access to your mind, your emotions, and your energy. They operate like parasites, attaching themselves to people who don't know how to say no. But Sigma males are immune, not because they fight harder, but because they never open the door in the first place. Boundaries are sacred to Sigma males. They guard their time, their space, and their emotional energy with quiet intensity. They don't let just anyone in, and they certainly don't let anyone stay. They don't fear solitude, they thrive in it. So when guilt-tripping, passive-aggressive jabs, or sudden emotional outbursts are used to draw them closer, they don't bend. They step back. No confrontation. No explanation. Just distance. To the manipulator, that silence is suffocating. Their power depends on proximity, on being close enough to whisper lies, distort reality, or feed off emotional reactions. But when a Sigma male withdraws completely, mentally, emotionally, and physically, he leaves them screaming into a void. The drama goes unanswered. The bait lies untouched. And in that hollow silence, the manipulator starts to unravel. Because without a stage to perform on, the actor becomes irrelevant. Number 3. They see through manipulation with surgical precision. Manipulators are masters of illusion. They hide control behind smiles, abuse behind victimhood, and deception beneath layers of half-truths and emotionally loaded stories. Their greatest weapon is confusion. If they can keep you emotionally overwhelmed, they can keep you under control. But Sigma males operate on a different frequency, one that cuts straight through emotional static and into the mechanics of human behavior. Unlike most, Sigma males don't just hear what people say, they observe how it's said, when it's said, and what isn't said. They read micro-expressions, those split-second flickers of real emotion a manipulator can't fully mask. They catch contradictions between words and behavior. They sense patterns in timing, when guilt suddenly appears, when praise is followed by a demand, when coincidences start to align a little too conveniently. While others might get tangled in emotional reactions, Sigma males take a different route: dissection. Calm. Precise. They mentally deconstruct the situation like a chessboard, separating fact from fiction, motive from mask. And when they speak, they don't accuse or explode, they ask razor-sharp questions that pierce through the narrative with surgical clarity. A single well-timed question: why did your story change from last time? Or, if that's true, why doesn't it align with this? Can collapse an entire house of lies in seconds. And unlike others who may backpedal once confronted, Sigma males don't retreat. They hold that silence. They watch. And in that brutal stillness, the manipulator is forced to face something they're not equipped to handle: reality. It's not rage that disarms them. It's truth, delivered without emotion, without hesitation, and without fear. Number 4. They undermine corrupt power structures quietly. Manipulators don't just target individuals, they build systems to protect themselves. They cultivate loyalty through fear, dependency, or deceit. They create echo chambers where dissent is punished and obedience is rewarded. These toxic ecosystems become their fortress. And most people either rebel loudly, and get crushed, or comply silently, and become part of the machine. Sigma males do neither. They don't storm the gates, they study the blueprints. They don't broadcast their resistance, they engineer its collapse. While others are distracted by the manipulator's theatrics, Sigma males are in the background gathering patterns, observing relationships, collecting receipts. They take their time because they know real change isn't loud, it's structural. They document contradictions. They identify pressure points. They plant questions in the minds of others, small truths that grow into doubt. Sometimes they'll mentor the quiet observers who've been silenced by fear. Other times, they'll subtly shift the culture by simply refusing to participate in the rituals of power: no fake praise, no forced loyalty, no bending to invisible rules. And when the moment comes, they act, not with drama, but with precision. A quiet exposure. A private conversation. A truth dropped at just the right time, in just the right place. And suddenly, the manipulator's web begins to unravel, not because they were attacked, but because the structure that protected them no longer exists. What terrifies toxic people isn't confrontation, it's irrelevance. And that's exactly what the Sigma male creates: a slow erosion of control that can't be traced back to a single outburst, only to the invisible hand of someone who refused to play their game. Number 5. They weaponize calmness and emotional control. To a manipulator, your emotions are the battlefield, and their victory depends on your reaction. Rage, guilt, confusion, panic, these are their tools. They'll lie to your face and watch your expression. They'll twist facts just enough to make you doubt yourself. They'll use subtle insults, rumors, or even feigned victimhood, all with one objective: to make you lose control. Because the moment you react, they gain leverage. But Sigma males are impenetrable. Their emotional control isn't fake, it's trained. Born from solitude, forged in silence, their calm is not a mask, it's a weapon. When a manipulator pokes and prods, trying to provoke a flare of anger or a breakdown of doubt, the Sigma male offers no such reward. He stays still, composed, watching. That stillness is unnerving. It sends a silent but piercing message. You do not own my emotions. You do not live in my head. You are not my center. This kind of detachment doesn't come from apathy, it comes from mastery. Sigma males have already processed their pain. They've already confronted their shadows. So when someone tries to weaponize guilt, manipulate through love bombing, or threaten with emotional withdrawal, they don't chase. They don't argue. They simply don't respond. And this is where the manipulator begins to spiral. Without an emotional reaction to feed off, they lose their script. The drama falls flat. The guilt trips don't land. The gaslighting doesn't confuse. And suddenly, the manipulator isn't in control of a puppet, they're facing a mirror that reflects their own emptiness. Sigma males win not by resisting the emotional game, but by refusing to play it at all. Number 6. They lead by example, not noise. True influence doesn't shout. It moves silently. In a world filled with loud personalities trying to dominate, persuade, or manipulate their way into leadership, Sigma males take the opposite route. They don't force loyalty. They earn it, without ever asking for it. You won't find them grandstanding or broadcasting their values. Instead, you'll see it in their actions, the way they stay late to fix what others ignore, the way they step away from toxic circles without drama, the way they speak the truth when silence would be safer. They don't gossip. They don't engage in performative outrage. They simply live their code, whether anyone's watching or not. And that quiet integrity becomes contagious. While manipulators rely on groupthink, alliances, and perception control, the Sigma's silent leadership begins to disrupt that machinery. People start noticing the contrast. The manipulator talks, but the Sigma acts. The manipulator demands respect, but the Sigma earns it through consistency and self-respect. Others begin to question what they once accepted. They start asking themselves, why do I tolerate this? Or, why does he walk away and still sleep peacefully, while I stay and feel drained? Without confrontation or speeches, the Sigma male leads a quiet rebellion, by being the living proof that freedom is possible. And the moment others begin to follow that example, the manipulator's empire starts to crack. Because their power was never real, it was always dependent on silence, fear, and followers. Take those away, and they're left with nothing but noise. And the Sigma? He's already walked away, with peace in his chest and fire in his soul. Number 7. They speak the truth without fear. Silence is the oxygen that feeds manipulation. It allows lies to spread, abusers to hide, and injustices to become normalized. Most people stay quiet, not because they agree, but because they're afraid. Afraid of being judged. Afraid of losing social approval, comfort, or position. And manipulators count on that fear. They thrive in the cracks created by passive compliance. But Sigma males are not wired for silence. When a line is crossed, when something is wrong, when someone abuses their power or twists the truth, Sigma males speak. Not loudly, not with ego, but with a cold, surgical precision. Their truth-telling isn't dramatic. It's deliberate. They don't rant. They cut. And they do it without flinching, because they have nothing to lose that they truly need. Status? They never wanted it. Belonging? They've always been self-contained. Approval? It's irrelevant to a man who governs himself. That's what makes their honesty so dangerous to manipulators. They say what others only whisper about behind closed doors. They ask the hard questions no one else has the courage to raise. And when they speak, the room shifts, because their words carry weight. People listen. People wake up. The manipulator, once shielded by silence and collective fear, is suddenly exposed. And here's the thing, Sigma males don't just speak the truth, they live it. Their actions back their words. Their consistency makes their voice credible. And when someone like that steps forward and says, this isn't right, they don't need a crowd behind them to make it matter. They make the truth louder, without ever raising their voice. Number 8. They stay unpredictable and mysterious. Control requires predictability. Manipulators need to map you out, your routines, your weaknesses, your triggers. They study your emotional patterns, your fears, your habits, because the more they know, the easier you are to control. But Sigma males are a nightmare for this kind of predator. Why? Because they're impossible to pin down. One day, they're silent and introspective. The next, they're blunt and assertive. Sometimes they engage, other times, they vanish without explanation. They'll be at the gathering, listening quietly, and then leave halfway through without apology. They may help you once, then walk away forever. And through all of it, they offer no roadmap. No hints. No explanations. This unpredictability isn't by accident. It's strategy. By refusing to be easily read, Sigma males maintain psychological sovereignty. Their mysterious nature keeps manipulators guessing, and that guessing becomes a form of torture for toxic people who need control to survive. More importantly, Sigma males guard their inner world with intensity. Their past, their pain, their intentions, they reveal nothing unless they choose to. And that secrecy becomes armor. You can't exploit what you can't access. You can't manipulate what you can't understand. Manipulators hate mystery because it robs them of leverage. And Sigma males are mystery, by design. They don't play the same role twice. They don't let others script their identity. And because of this, toxic people can't gain a foothold. They're left chasing shadows, trying to control a man who's already 10 steps ahead, and completely out of reach. Number 9. They live by integrity and self-reliance. At the heart of a Sigma male is something immovable, a moral compass that doesn't sway with the crowd, the culture, or the moment. It isn't loud. It doesn't ask for recognition. But it's unshakable. While most people build their identity around social acceptance or external rewards, Sigma males carve theirs from something far more durable, integrity and self-reliance. They don't chase popularity. They don't conform to trends just to blend in. They don't compromise values just to avoid conflict. Their principles aren't performative, they're private laws. Even if no one's watching, even if standing by those values costs them opportunities, friendships, or comfort, they won't bend. Not because they enjoy resistance, but because betraying themselves would be the deeper loss. This internal alignment is what makes them immune to the usual tools of manipulation. A narcissist might try to seduce them with flattery, telling them how unique or brilliant they are. A control freak might try intimidation, threatening exclusion or shame. A guilt tripper may weaponize emotional debt. But none of it sticks. Why? Because the Sigma male sense of worth doesn't come from outside. It was forged in solitude, in silence, in years of figuring out who they are without an audience. They're not dependent on anyone's approval because they've already approved of themselves. This terrifies manipulators. When someone can't be flattered, coerced, guilt, or threatened, when their sense of identity isn't tied to a group, a title, or a role, you've lost all leverage. That's when manipulators realize they're not dealing with someone they can twist or dominate. They're standing in front of something rare. Something dangerous. A man who is beyond their reach. A man who walks alone, not because he has to, but because he chooses to. And that kind of man? You can't control. You can only hope he walks away, before your illusion crumbles entirely. Number 10, they operate on purpose, not ego. Toxic individuals are ego-driven. Every action, every manipulation, every lie is rooted in a desperate need to feel superior, to dominate, to be seen. They crave attention like oxygen and will twist any situation to make themselves the center of it. But Sigma males are different. They don't operate from ego. They operate from purpose. A Sigma male's decisions are not designed to impress others, they're designed to align with something deeper, a personal mission, a code, a calling. Whether it's building a life of freedom, pursuing mastery in their craft, or living a quiet life of principle, they are internally motivated. This makes them almost impossible to distract, bait, or derail. Manipulators depend on ego games. Who's better? Who's right? Who gets the last word? But Sigma males don't play to win applause. They don't argue to prove superiority. If the conversation doesn't serve truth or purpose, they'll simply walk away. Not in defeat, in clarity. They'd rather be misunderstood in silence than waste energy on a hollow exchange. This detachment from ego makes them a mirror that reflects the insecurity of toxic people. When a manipulator tries to provoke them with jealousy, the Sigma stays focused on his mission. When they attempt to compete, the Sigma doesn't even acknowledge the contest. And when they try to drag him into petty battles for dominance, he remains anchored in something far stronger than pride, intention. That unwavering purpose frustrates and confuses toxic people. Because how do you control a man who doesn't need to be seen? How do you break someone who's already defined himself, without you? You don't. You either evolve to meet his level of honesty and focus, or you fall away, irrelevant and forgotten. Because in a world full of performers, the one who moves with quiet purpose will always be the most dangerous. Number 11. They don't engage in petty conflicts. Sigma males have no interest in ego battles, petty debates, or shallow power struggles. When someone tries to provoke them with passive aggression, backhanded comments, or gossip-fueled drama, they don't bite. They recognize it for what it is, a trap. A manipulator's goal is to draw you into emotional quicksand, to make you prove yourself, defend yourself, or react in a way they can exploit. But Sigma males are driven by a deeper code. If the situation doesn't involve truth, principle, or personal growth, they disengage. Not out of weakness, but out of wisdom. They choose peace over provocation, and that choice robs the manipulator of the control they desperately seek. To the Sigma, silence is not surrender, it's strategy. They understand that sometimes the most powerful move is to walk away, leaving the toxic person to fight a war that no longer exists. Number 12. They observe before they act. In a world full of impulsive reactions, the Sigma male is a quiet observer. He doesn't respond just to respond, he studies, listens, and waits. While others are caught in emotional storms, he remains still, watching how people speak, why they move, and what patterns emerge beneath the surface. This patience gives him a significant advantage, especially around manipulative individuals who rely on confusion and misdirection. By the time a manipulator makes their move, the Sigma has often already seen it coming. And when he does act, it's not emotional, it's intentional. Whether he chooses to confront, expose, or quietly exit, it's always calculated. There's no chaos in his response, just clarity. This ability to act from insight rather than impulse makes Sigma males hard to outmaneuver. Manipulators can't control what they can't predict, and Sigma males are always 5 steps ahead, hidden in the silence between everyone else's noise. Final thoughts: the power of silence in a world addicted to noise. In a society obsessed with dominance, validation, and social performance, the Sigma male stands as a quiet revolt. He doesn't scream to be heard, doesn't fight to be followed, and doesn't conform to be accepted. He isn't here to entertain the games of manipulators, he's here to expose them, by refusing to play. Toxic people, narcissists, gaslighters, bullies, they operate in shadows. Their power lies in confusion, in fear, in the silence of those too afraid to speak. But Sigma males bring something rare into that darkness: clarity. Not through confrontation, but through presence. Through stillness. Through unshakable integrity. They don't destroy manipulators by attacking them. They destroy them by existing outside their system. By staying unpredictable, they become ungraspable. By maintaining emotional control, they become untouchable. By refusing to be ruled by ego, they become unbreakable. In the end, the Sigma male's greatest weapon is not aggression, charm, or intellect, it's independence of mind. The power to walk alone. To think clearly. To act without fear. That's what toxic people can never stand, because they can't dominate what they can't define. So if you've ever felt like you don't belong in the chaos, if you've ever chosen silence over noise, truth over comfort, solitude over empty crowds, you're not broken. You're not lost. You might just be a Sigma. And in a world ruled by manipulation, that makes you the most dangerous kind of man.